Evil twin creatures are cards I wish we got to see more of in KeyForge, and I feel like they don't get a whole lot of coverage, so today we'll be analyzing 8 Dark Tidings creatures and their evil twins. For 4 of these cards, I think the evil twin variant is better than the original, and then for the other 4, I think the evil twin is worse than the original. Obviously though, these are all just my personal thoughts and opinions, and things will work differently in various scenarios. Without further ado, let's get into it. Let's start with the 4 evil twins that I think are better than, or just as good as their regular variants, beginning with Eclectic Aembermedes. This is a 4-power Saurian creature that reads, at the end of your turn, put a knowledge counter on Eclectic Aembermedes. Action, remove 3 knowledge counters from Eclectic Aembermedes. If you do, gain 6 Ember. This effect is pretty insane, gaining an entire key's worth of Ember just by using an action ability, but it's balanced out by the fact that it takes 4 whole turns of waiting for the knowledge counters to build up before it can go off, giving your opponent plenty of time to deal with it. Its evil twin version reads, put an ignorance counter on an enemy creature. As long as that creature has an ignorance counter, its text box is considered blank except for traits. Completely nullifying an enemy creature's effect is incredibly strong, especially if that creature is a particularly powerful one. Within Dark Tidings alone, there are plenty of fantastic creatures whose text boxes would be great to blank, such as P.I. Sweven or Cop. There are lots of options outside Dark Tidings too, like Duskwitch, Tribune Pompatus, Professor Sutterkin, or even Fandangle. And those ignorance counters remain on the creature even after Eclectic Aembermedes' evil twin dies, meaning those creatures' text boxes are rendered useless permanently. Witch of the Dawn is a key piece of House Untamed's arsenal in Dark Tidings, returning a creature from your discard pile to your hand when you play it. It's fantastic for bringing back creatures like Chelonia or Deepwater Gruin, but other threats as well that may also exist in your deck. The evil twin variant has an explosive ability that can offer tremendous synergy in the right situations, and even if the situation isn't that perfect, it's still really useful. It reads play, destroy another friendly creature. If you do, play a creature from your discard pile, ready and use that creature. The versatility of this card can result in some pretty amazing combos. There are a number of Logos or Star Alliance candidates that would be great to bring back, but really anything that furthers your game plan or brings back a threat that hinders the opponent are good targets too. The fact that you get to ready and use that creature after playing it from the discard pile more than makes up for the fact that you have to destroy a friendly creature first, especially since that's not always a bad thing to do. I think Witch of the Dawn's evil twin is a pretty splendid card, and complements the original version quite well. Moving on to House Unfathomable, we have the common creature Guiltspine Netcaster, with the very simple effect of Reap, exhaust a creature. He fits in perfectly with the whole disruption through exhaustion theme that Unfathomable has, although he doesn't usually last very long since he's only 2 power. His evil twin version reads, ready and use a friendly non-Aquan creature. Pretty much any non-Unfathomable creature is a valid target for this effect, though there are a few Unfathomable creatures out there that don't have the Aquan trait, such as Sipho's or Seabringer Krakoa. As always, readying and using a creature has potential for being solid combo material, especially when it's something outside of House Unfathomable. It's nice that the effect readies the creature as well, making it so if the creature was exhausted beforehand, you still get to use it upon Reap. I think this evil twin is a well-crafted variant on the original. Another solid evil twin creature is the one for Sporegorger, one of the more bizarre untamed creatures of Dark Tidings. The original reads, Reap, give Sporegorger a +1 power counter. You may remove each +1 power counter from Sporegorger. For each counter removed this way, deal 1 damage to each other creature. There are other ways to boost Sporegorger with +1 power counters, such as with Genetic Drift or Growth Surge, and under ideal circumstances it can act as some mass damage in a pinch. It can be unfortunate that it deals damage to your own creatures as well as the opponent's, but sometimes that's the price to pay in order to take out threats on the other side of the board. The evil twin variant reads, play, move each +1 power counter in play to Sporegorger. Reap, you may remove each +1 power counter from Sporegorger. For each counter removed this way, deal 1 damage to each other creature. This creature displays a pretty unique use of +1 power counters, converting them into a form of damage. This Reap effect can have some pretty wild consequences. If there were lots of power counters in play, it can almost act as a board wipe, depending on the size of the creatures on the board. Or, if a creature is powered up, and has more damage than its original power, that creature will be destroyed when the counters are removed. Sporegorger and its evil twin are pretty odd creatures, but I think their overall theme is consistent and has potential to be powerful. Alright, now let's move on to some evil twins that aren't quite so great. These ones just do not offer nearly as much utility as their original counterparts do, and are overall just not the best of creatures. We'll start off with Larry of the Lake and his evil twin. This is one of the hallmark creatures of Dark Tidings' Sanctum House, and for good reason. 2 extra armor on all friendly creatures, including Larry himself, is actually quite a strong barrier, protecting against most cards that deal direct damage and comboing with other creatures like Urian the Circumspect. The evil twin version is much more selfish, reading, while the tide is high, Larry of the Lake gets +5 armor. That's honestly pretty lame compared to what the original does. There are already creatures out there that have 5 armor without the tide being high, like Sir Bever and Collector Worm. The 2 extra power Evil Larry has compared to Sir Bever doesn't change much. It's not a great creature, and its ability is certainly not worth taking chains to raise the tide for, and it's definitely not great compared to the original Larry of the Lake. Next is one I'm really not a fan of, and that's the evil twin of Mookling. Original Mookling is a fantastic creature, raising the opponent's key cost by 1 for every power Mookling has. The evil twin variant, however, is nothing like this, and reads, after your opponent forges a key, give Mookling a +1 power counter for each ember spent to forge that key. When keys cost their typical 6, evil Mookling will end up as an 8 power creature, which is substantial for sure, but not worth giving up a key for. Having one bulky creature on your side of the board at the expense of your opponent forging doesn't seem worth it to me, unless you have cards to combo with it, like Waste Not or Assert Dominance. And for me, I would always rather have creatures that make life difficult for the opponent, such as by raising key cost, than creatures that are just really big and that's their only quality. Sometimes lots of power is just what you need, but compared to original Mookling, evil twin Mookling just doesn't quite compare in my opinion. Let's move into House Saurian with Censor Philo, who reads, Censor Philo cannot be dealt damage by creatures with Ember on them. This isn't the most quality creature in the game, but with the right cards can actually provide some decent value. With cards like Altruist Rostrum or Decadence, you can move an Ember to an enemy creature, then fight into it with Censor Philo and take no damage. And then you have Censor Philo's evil twin, who reads, play, deal 5 damage to a creature with Ember on it. Okay, so under ideal circumstances, you could potentially take out a dangerous enemy creature with Ember on it. Then it's just a 5 power creature sitting there doing nothing. Maybe you can reap with it or capture Ember onto it, but what if only your creatures have Ember on them? Then you're forced to hit one of your own creatures with that 5 damage, and at that point you're probably better off discarding him. Again, with other cards in your deck, he's not quite that bad, such as with Carpe Venum, but in my opinion, Philo's evil twin is just a really boring and bland creature that adds very little value to your deck, unless it comes with the right cards. And lastly, we have Operative Espeon and his evil twin. Original Operative Espeon has Elusive and reads, after a player raises the tide during their turn, they may use a creature they control. This creature is just filled with Starline's flavor, and the combo potential Operative Espeon offers is tremendous, comboing with other cards such as Youngest Bear and Badge Magus, just to name a couple. I think it's really stupid that it's a 2-sided effect, giving the opponent an opportunity to use its effect when they raise the tide, but either way, it's still a pretty good creature. I can't say the same for its evil twin though, who reads, after a player raises the tide during their turn, they may deal 3 damage to a creature. And that's it. You raise the tide and deal 3 damage somewhere. Obviously, 3 damage may be exactly what you need to take out a major threat such as Kalpar Duskwitch, but in most situations, a simple 3 damage won't be doing much for you. You may be able to use it to set up for other things, such as getting rid of some armor or finishing off an already damaged creature, so it has utility, but not much. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about these evil twins. If they're better or worse than I detailed, additional insight is always appreciated. Evil twin creatures are always a lot of fun to talk about, so if there are any other topics about them you'd like me to discuss, let me know. Thank you all so much for watching, and I cannot wait to see you all again in the next one. See you later.